Before you start writing your C1 Advanced Essay, you need to plan. And this is because if you don't plan, then you might not include everything that you need to include to score the highest marks possible. But how does one plan their C1 Advanced Essay? Maybe you already know how to plan your C1 Advanced Essay, but maybe you don't. And if you don't, this video is for you. My name is Toby, this is Smash English, and here is everything that you need to know about planning your essay for the C1 Advanced Cambridge exam. Firstly, if you have not seen my video about how to structure a C1 Advanced Essay, then please watch it. Why? Because you can't plan something if you don't know the structure. So, because we have watched that video, we can now start planning our C1 Advanced Essay. Before we even read the question, we know how to structure our essay because we've all seen Toby's fantastic video about structuring essays. So we need an introduction, we need one paragraph introducing each prompt, then paragraph 4 should be comparing and contrasting these prompts in relation to the question, obviously, and then paragraph 5 should be a conclusion that will summarize and synthesize everything and then finally give our opinion. Yes? Yes! The first thing that we must do when planning our essay is to read the question, obviously. But you should read the question and try to understand 4 different things. Number 1, what is the topic of the essay? Number 2, what is the question? Number 3, which prompts should we talk about? Remember, we can only choose 2. And number 4, how can we connect these 2 prompts together? And sure, these may look confusing, so let's look at an example together.
Your class has attended a lecture about ways nations could reduce fossil fuel consumption. You have made the notes below. Number 1, encourage use of public transport. Number 2, recycling. Number 3, alternative energy sources. Some opinions expressed in the lecture. People will never take the bus when they have cars. People need to be educated about the importance of recycling. It is the government's responsibility and not the public's to invest in alternative energy. Write an essay discussing 2 of the ways in your notes. You should explain which way would be more effective in reducing fossil fuel consumption and provide reasons to support your opinion. You may, if you wish, make use of the opinions expressed in the lecture, but you should use your own words as far as possible. So, first things first, what is the topic? The topic is the need to reduce fossil fuel consumption. And what is the question? The question is, which of 2 ways would be most effective at reducing fossil fuel consumption? Next, we need to decide which prompts we should choose.
There are multiple ways to make this choice. However, I would recommend thinking about your conclusion while choosing your 2 prompts. Yeah, you should already have your conclusion in your head while choosing your prompts. Perhaps you believe that recycled material could be used as an alternative fuel source. Wow, that is a great idea! So we could choose these 2 prompts and then talk about that connection of the 2 prompts in our 4th paragraph. The idea that recycling and alternative fuel sources could be used together to reduce fossil fuel consumption. Boy, oh boy, that's brilliant! And then, of course, our conclusion will be connected to what we said in paragraph 4. So this would be a good option if this is your idea. Or maybe you think that encouraging the use of public transport is more important than recycling. You think that everyone recycles anyway. However, many people still use private transport. So we can compare and contrast these 2 points in paragraph 4. I already have a brilliant idea, and therefore I will choose these 2 prompts. So this is the sort of thing you should be thinking about. Don't choose your prompts randomly. Try and select 2 prompts that you can compare and contrast successfully. The point is, you should have the idea before you make the commitment. You don't want to get to paragraph 4 and then realize, Oh my gosh, how are these two ideas related? I don't know, because that's a terrible thing.
So in this essay, I will choose recycling and encouraging the use of public transport. I will argue that recycling is important, but that people are already aware of the importance of recycling, and in many European countries it is a legal requirement. However, most people use private transport, and this situation should change.
So then, we have our topic, we've chosen our prompts, which means we understand the question, and we have our central idea that we will argue for in paragraph 4. Brilliant! So, now that we've done these 4 things, we should take this information and try to integrate it into our structure. Our introduction should introduce the topic in a general way, and then it should state the point of the essay. This means you need to rephrase the question in your own words. In terms of planning then, I suggest just writing down key vocabulary related to the topic. In the context of this topic, which is the need to reduce the use of fossil fuels, you could write down words like global warming, environmental pollution, finite resources, the greenhouse effect, climate change, etc. Write these down and then try and integrate as many as you can into your introductory statement about the topic in your introduction. And yeah, that's how I recommend planning the introduction. Let's move on. In terms of the order of our 2 prompt paragraphs, it doesn't really matter. These 2 paragraphs serve to introduce the prompt in relation to the topic and the question. So first, let's talk about recycling. And in order to understand what we should write about recycling, let's think about certain questions we should answer in relation to the topic and the question about recycling. We need to talk about recycling in relation to fossil fuel use. And maybe to you the connection is really obvious, but pretend that the reader is an idiot. You should explain what recycling is and how recycling relates to fossil fuel use, and also how it could help. These are some questions. So number 1, what is recycling? Number 2, how does it relate to fossil fuel use? And number 3, how could it help? If you answer these 3 questions and connect the answers all together, then you will have a pretty good paragraph. Ha, well done. So write down the questions and then move on. And now we need to do the exact same thing for prompt 2, which is encouraging the use of public transport. So again, let's ask ourselves some questions about public transport. Number 1, how does public transport relate to fossil fuel consumption? What are the advantages of public transport over private transportation? And maybe we could give some examples of what governments could do to increase the use of public transport. I don't know, some suggestions. These are complicated questions, and if you answer 2 of them, then you will have produced a good paragraph. You can also invent some scientific studies and statistics to reference in your essay. Why not? Did you know that private transport accounts for 99% of carbon emissions? Oh, is that true? I don't know, but it sounds good, so I'm gonna say it in my essay. So now we have planned our introduction and our 2 prompt paragraphs. We now need to write our 4th paragraph, and this should compare and contrast our 2 prompts in relation to the question. To do this, we need to understand what our central point is, and in this essay our central point is that everybody recycles. Everybody already knows how important recycling is. In some European countries, recycling is a legal requirement. However, the majority of the citizenry still thinks it acceptable to commute in private forms of transportation. And oh my goodness, that is a travesty. And so governments should do more to encourage the use of public transportation, because that should be where the priority is. Yes? Yes! In this paragraph, we could also make a suggestion on what a government could do. For example, I will state that governments should not spend more money advertising about the importance of recycling, when that money would be better invested into building up a local infrastructure for e-scooters that could replace cars. Everyone will be going brum 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 on their electric scooters. That is a great idea. I'm sure there will be no accidents. So, to summarize, in this paragraph you should have your central point planned, and you should also have thought of an example that you could use to illustrate this central point. And now finally, our conclusion, and this plans itself. We simply summarize what we have already said and then state our opinion, which will be connected to what we have already said in paragraph 4, right? That's really obvious. You don't need to plan the conclusion, because if you've done everything else perfectly, the conclusion literally writes itself. Well, no, not literally. It literally doesn't write itself. You need to write it. It figuratively writes itself. Yes. So, let us summarize. Number 1, identify the topic, the question, and choose your prompts. Number 2, make sure you already understand what your conclusion will be in relation to the prompts. Number 3, think about some great vocabulary that you can use in your introduction related to the topic. Number 4, think about questions that you should be answering in your paragraphs about the prompts. And these questions should be relating your prompts to the topic and the question. Number 5, think of your central point in paragraph 4 and think of an example that you will use to illustrate this central point. And number 6, well, there isn't a number 6 because the conclusion will write itself if you have done everything else perfectly. And with that, we are finished. Now you know every single thing you need to know about how to plan your essay for the C1 Advanced Cambridge exam. If you liked the video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. My name is Toby, and this was Smash English.